This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org. Welcome to Truly Independent. I'm Garrett Batty alongside my co-host Darren Smith. Each week, we'll go in depth with guests, industry experts, and we'll even share our own experiences, all with the goal of demystifying the independent film process. This season, it's all about the script, from the first spark of an idea to a polished final draft, breaking it down for scheduling, budgeting, and ultimately shooting. We'll walk through every step it takes to get from page to production. Welcome to Truly Independent. Darren, hello, how are you?
So good, man. How are you, Garrett?
Good. Welcome to another episode of Truly Independent. I'm a co-host, Garrett Batty, and with me, as always, is the other co-host, Darren Smith. And we have a fine-looking guest here with us today, a good friend from projects in the past, Mason Mack. How are you, Mason?
Thank you guys for having me here, and I'm excited to talk film.
Yeah, welcome. Good to have you.
It's been a minute, Mason, since we've chatted, since you made it big in indie film and moved off to Hawaii. That's what I'm telling everyone.
Yeah, that's the better story. No, I love indie film and I've been doing that for a long time, but I had a cool work opportunity present itself here in Hawaii, and my wife and we both grew up coastal. I grew up surfing, and so when the opportunity came to go live in Hawaii and we had some family ties here, we're like, let's just jump on this. We're young while we still can.
What a perfect time to do that.
Yeah.
The question is, have you got any waves in yet today?
Not today, no. My kid's first day of summer camp was today, so I took this morning to drop them off, and maybe later today.
What an amazing place.
Yeah.
Okay, the other day you did a post, and I saw that you were promoting a book, that you had written a book, and I want to get into that because that is, I think, essentially what this whole podcast is about, a key part of this podcast. But I also want to kind of establish who we're listening to, kind of why you are qualified to write this book. Can you give us a background and introduction on who you are?
Yeah. So I got into film long time ago, back when I was a teenager, a kid even. And I actually always just wanted to direct. That was my goal. But I was in some film classes and I had to act in my own projects.
Yeah.
And so I pursued that. I got really lucky. I'm very blessed. I've gotten to be in a lot of films and work on a lot of projects, both like studio, but most of my career has been indie. So at some point, just in that process, I started getting that itch of like, I just want more control on the stories I get to tell and the roles I get to play. And so I started writing scripts, and eventually a buddy reached out. We were both in film school still at the time, but he was like, I want to make a feature film this summer. And I was like, dude, let's just do it. And
those are famous last words sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had been in the career for almost 10 or a little over 10 years at that time. So I'd made a lot of industry connections. I had learned a lot from other filmmakers and producers. And so I was ready to kind of just take the reins, and we went and made a feature film.
Was this Cryo?
This was Cryo. Yeah. Originally.
You guys knocked it out of the park, by the way. I saw that thing when it was released in theaters, and it was incredible.
This experience was such a huge learning experience. But it was my first feature as a producer and the first feature I'd written. So we originally actually went into it to shoot a different movie completely. It was a feature I'd written. It had done pretty well in the Nichols Fellowship screenwriting contest. But that one needed a lot of money, and we had a bunch of people kind of soft agree. So we're like, oh, we got this. So that indie mentality is, let's just start pre-production without any money in the bank account. And so we were a couple weeks into pre-producing, hiring crew, looking at casting, and all the people who had verbally committed to investing.
Can you tell I'm getting like cringy just hearing you go down the road? Like I'm starting.
This is a common mistake. This is something that we do, like indie filmmakers make. Like we double down before there's even like a paycheck in the bank account, and so we made that mistake. We lost the $250K that we were told we were going to have, and we're like, how much money do we have between us? And so between myself, the director Barrett, and really just a couple family members, we pulled together $11,000.
That's not the 250 that you were anticipating.
No. And so we knew we couldn't make the movie we were going to make. So we're like, what stories what could we make? And we knew, and this is a great tip for indie filmmakers, but when you're working on little money or no money at all, you got to contain the story. So we were like, okay, what can we do in one location with a small cast? And that was the birth of Cryo. We wrote Cryo in 3 days and we were shooting it about 2 weeks later.
Oh. Well, and you did it so smartly because it's a very confined location, very small cast. It is the perfect scenario for a first-time indie film.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we're just going to knock this out. And I would imagine your shooting schedule was pretty tight.
We shot, I would say 95% of the movie in 12 days and 2 weeks. Yeah. We all had to go back to film school. We had such a small window. We had 6 weeks of prep and we spent most of that on a different movie. And and then we already had hired a crew. And a lot of this was like social collateral. Almost the entire crew were film students, and it was just people that we worked on each other's projects. Barrett was at BYU film program. I was at UVU's film program. And so we just reached out to people like, hey, do you want to work on this? We don't really have money to pay anyone, but this is a fun passion project. And we got a lot of young, super passionate talent to come in and work behind camera with us. And I had a lot of favors that I was able to call in from years in the industry. Instead of shooting on just a simple DSLR, we were able to pull an Alexa in for our shoot and millions of dollars of what would normally stuff like that would cost for free.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I got to say, this is the thing that every single film student should do. That's the time that you can make a sub $100,000, sub $50,000, sub $20,000 movie because you've got all the resources right there. And it's the only time where you really have time to go and take 2 months to go make something.
Yeah.
Because your rent's paid by your parents or you have a side gig, you have a job, whatever it is, but you could be there on Saturday and you can be there on Tuesday and a different boom operator comes in on Thursday and you just use the resources you have. If you fast forward 2 years and you're out of school, it's near impossible to pull off that same thing. Amount of time, same amount of budget.
Oh, yeah.
When you're in that mode of, I'm trying to be a film student, I want to be a filmmaker, the best thing you can do is actually go make a film. So I just love this. I love hearing this because I've seen Cryo. It's amazing, but I didn't know the story behind it. And that's the epitome of independent filmmaking.
Yeah.
The fact that you pivoted, you pulled it off, you made something great, and you had a lot of talented people working on it just goes to show what's possible there.
And with any movie, even ones with funding, there's a million of those like what ifs, things I would have done better. And even with the movie Cryo, like it's not a perfect movie by any means. There's a lot of things we had more time to write or more time to flesh out the story. I'm sure we would have done a lot of things different, but it's basically a glorified student film. And for what we made with what we had, we're very proud of it. And I have to give a lot of kudos to Barrett Bergen, who directed it, and we wrote it together. So I don't want to take that full credit for that. He was a big player in the writing of the script.
Yeah. Well, you're wise to do that. I mean, Barrett's very talented, and we definitely get the collaborative nature of making the movies. So you shoot the movie, you finish the movie, and then in what most people don't realize, now starts the hard part.
Man, you need 4 episodes for us to go through this whole journey, but we shot it, and then we all had to go back to film school. The editing process was a very slow. We went through 3 or 4 editors because most editors didn't understand the story. The story is it's non-linear. It feels linear, but it's not. And so a lot of editors came in and they just struggled piecing the scenes together with what we were trying to accomplish with the story. And so 2 years went by and we couldn't get a good first cut that we were happy with. And then COVID hit and everything, just the world shut down. And so the movie kind of got bookshelved, and bless Barrett's heart, but he was just burnt out on people asking, when's it going to be done? When's it going to be done? And I kept coming and being like, what can I do? What can I do? Yeah. And I know that took a lot of that stress off of him, and he confided that in me or with me later, but that after enough time had passed and we were all kind of sitting in COVID doing nothing, it was like, Bear was like, you know what, maybe I just need to take the first pass at this edit, which I think is always for indie. I feel like if you're a director and you know how to edit, that is a good approach to take. I feel like it's within the means of whatever your budget is, as well as time. It's so hard to do something with very little money and ask favors.
Yeah.
When we made the movie Cryo, but I told everyone, it's like, you only get one chance to ask people to work for free. You only get one opportunity to do this in your career. And so this is it. We need to make sure we understand that, and we never ask again anyone to come. We do the next one with money where we can pay people what they deserve. It's only fair. And
yeah, that's a good mentality. And so you guys powered through it and got it done. People have seen the films available.
Yeah. So my job as the producer, I act in it as well, but my job as the producer, and it's because I had the most film experience and connections, was to sell the film. That was my job. And fortunately, I was able to navigate the distribution side of things very sneakily and package the film as something bigger than what it was. And we made it, the film does feel like it's more than an $11,000 movie. And so with that, I knew the two things that sell a movie are your key art and your trailer. Most distributors, most sellers we went to never once looked at our film. They looked at our key art and they looked at our trailer, and they decided from there whether they wanted it or not. And so I was able to speak to someone who sells most of their stuff to Netflix, and they took interest in it. But it was my first time negotiating distribution deals, and the cut they wanted seemed so large, and it just felt like we were with no MG. And MG, for listeners, is minimum guarantee, so it's basically cash up front. And with no MG, it just felt like this was a perfect opportunity for a distributor to take the movie and never pay anyone back. And that's a common problem. I've seen so many filmmakers with their tiered distribution companies. Like, they come in, they promise them the world, and then nothing really comes from it, and the film never gets out there. So like, I looked at this as, this is a huge opportunity who can get us in front of a lot of big platforms. But at that point, we actually had pulled in some extra money for special effects. So our budget had gone up. In fact, our budget was now at $40,000. We got 30. We spent way more on the post than we ever did in the actual production of the film. And so I really wanted to pay back some of these investors these were young people, like kids my age, like fresh out of college, who were giving us their life savings. They believed in the movie. And so I didn't feel right taking that deal, even though it was someone who was a recognizable name. Yeah. And so what I was able to do, and this is where the craft of indie filmmaking kind of comes through, was I was able to leverage that to get attention from smaller sales agents and be like, and because before we couldn't get any sales agents to meet with us. And then all of a sudden I was like, hey, we've got this company. I'm going to be vague with some of these companies because just for legal purposes, but I was like, we've got this company that has offered us this deal, and they're like, I can get you a better deal. And so we were able to get a sales agent. And then at that point, we were able to go to much other big companies with the sales agent. And we went to AFM and Saban Films ended up
representing it.
They ended up taking North America distribution.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Oh, good. They're legitimate.
Yeah. And MG paid everyone back. And then on top of a lot of our international deals, we basically went worldwide with smaller buyers everywhere and made plenty of money to pay everyone back.
Yeah.
So Mason, it seems like the first time filmmaker often, and I'm guilty of it, we get in that mistake of being flattered that there is interest in our film. Like, oh, so-and-so is interested in our film or whatever it is, and we're ready to sign the deal. Not knowing that so-and-so who's interested sends that offer to every single fresh out of college first-time filmmaker. And then you're right. Maybe it's a sign and run type deal where you can't get them on the phone again, or and your film just ends up caught in a catalog somewhere that. And so where'd you get the wisdom to just be patient with it and be like, hey, no, we're not going to be doing that. I'm going to really use leverage and experience to add value to this property.
I feel like it was more instinct. And as an actor, I live off of instinct. I live off of gut. trusting my gut. And yeah, it was one of those, it was a very big gamble because at that time they were just releasing the reboot of Queer Eye. They had a lot of big names that they were like, yeah, we can call basically anyone in the industry right now and get this in front of them. But it just didn't feel like the payback of everything. It just didn't feel right. And I just had to trust my gut that we could do something better. And I felt like I owed it to some of those investors who came in later on to really try to get them paid back, because I know a lot of them, like, this was their entire life savings they were giving us.
It's cool to hear somebody, a filmmaker, that says, yes, I'm pleased with my sales agent. That kudos to you and to Barrett for making a great film. They got picked up, and then to Saban for, sounds like, coming in with a good deal for you.
Yeah, they were great. But I think the reason, to go back to the initial question of what qualifies me to write this book, I have it here.
It's all leads to that, right?
Yeah, what qualified me to write this was, we got to the side of selling the film and we received the delivery schedule, not just from Saban, but from all the other international distributors that we were working with. And the list was so comprehensive. It was so much larger than what Google had told me I was going to need. The problem was, like, every single person, we were all now graduates from film schools. None of us were taught this in film school. We were all taught how to make the movie, but we were never taught what to do with it. And we didn't have money to hire an entertainment lawyer to be like, hey, can you pull a lot of this stuff for us? So a lot of it was just like, okay, my job to sell it was like, let me figure out the delivery schedule for those. It's basically the list of all the deliverables they need by a certain time frame to properly distribute the film. And I don't know I haven't worked with every distribution company, but the list we were given was unbelievably, it felt impossible to get some of this stuff. Some of it was like 300 production stills. And I was like, we didn't take 300 production stills on this shoot. So I was supposed to pull that together. And so it got to the point where this list was so long and so comprehensive and so daunting that I was like, okay, I've got to turn this into a system. I've got to systematically figure this out. And so as I did it, I kept thinking, I was like, nobody else, if I don't know this, then a lot of other film students don't know this. And so I started writing everything down. I started writing my processes down. And years later, after, the movie's been released, and I had this, we took it on the festival circuit. It won a few awards, but a lot of it was mostly just people were impressed of its production value versus budget, and that we were able to make money, like 10x the budget in the end and things like that. But at every film festival I went to, every night at the networking, the social hours and things like that, it was just people surrounding me asking me, how did you sell it? How did you do this? And I would start, a lot of it was just gathering our film deliverables and making sure we had something that we could present, that we had everything distribution companies need. And nobody knew what that term was. Nobody understood what film deliverables were and what made all of them. I think intuitively, a lot of us just, filmmakers are like, oh, here's the exported file. And right. That's not at all what they need. There's so many different things they need to market your film, technical materials, legal materials, marketing materials. And so I decided, I was like, I'm going to teach this. And so this was an idea 3 years in the making. It was about 4 years ago when I was like, I'm going to teach this. And then this opportunity to come to Hawaii came, and so I was writing a film course where I was going to teach this in a film course, but it became so time consuming to film and edit every video because I had 52 lessons and each video was 30 minutes. And I just didn't have the time. So it wasn't until about a year ago, I just sat on it for so long, and I've had it all written, just sitting on a Word doc. And I was like, you know what I should do? I should just turn this into a book. And that would be such an easier thing to do than the hours I would need to shoot and edit these and then release it on Kajabi or some e-course site. And that's the product of this. And so different things are in it that I am happy about. One of them being the checklist for every stage of, basically I took every single thing that we were asked for that we had to deliver to the different distribution companies and made a checklist. And because some of these things were things that we had to double back to do. We're like, oh, we didn't get that. Or one of our producers lost some of our talent paperwork from day one of filming. And so we had to go track down actors who lived out of state who some just were like, hey, I haven't thought about that project in so long, I don't really care. And we're like, we need you to sign some of this stuff to grant permissions to different things. I use the checklist to be like, hey, at this stage of your process, this is when you collect this form, and then put it immediately digitally into this cloud file that will end up becoming your distribution, your deliverables package that you will end up turning over to any distribution company. Not every distribution company will ask for this much stuff, but you will always look professional because you have it all. And then rest of the book offers all the templates for all the paperwork you might need that I could legally give.
Yeah. It's incredible. And for whatever the cost is of the book, I can guarantee that you will make that in the deals that you're able to sign. Because, I mean, Mason, I've done 8 features, and not only are you making a hard drive of each deliverable, each film with like each deliverable full like delivery package, but I'm doing it multiple times per film, much different than Great American Family.
Yep.
Which ironically is now the same company.
Yet they still need different things.
They still need different things. And here we are. Darren and I did Faith of Angels 2 plus years ago. And even last week, I'm delivering to a new streamer that didn't exist. But they reached out and said, hey, we'd like to stream your film. Here's the deal. And guess what? We have the deliverables. And it doesn't start, maybe you're going to get into this. When is a good time for a producer to start thinking about deliverables?
Development, pre-production. And my book does cover that because there are certain things. One of the issues we faced with Cryo was we had 2 writers on it. And we had to have screenwriter collaboration agreements. That was never something I was taught in film school that I needed, but it was something that almost every distributor needed for a clean chain of title, was to prove that who owned what creative rights everyone's owned, and what we turned over to our LLC that we could then use to transfer over to the distributors. Some of it's, hey, at this stage of development, you should at least be collecting some of this paperwork. Pre-production, this is where you need to be at. And then post-production, start building this stuff together. And then by your distribution stage, this is your entire package with a clean chain of title because you did everything at the appropriate time.
Amazing. That is super, super cool. Not covered in at university, at film school, is, I don't know if it's telling, but it's disappointing to hear that. It's, man, that is the actual work of the filmmaker. Yes, the movie's the fun part, but it's also the easiest part of all of this. The filmmaking is the easy part because it's the part we all love to do.
Exactly.
If you're the producer, it's all your responsibility. So I love that your answer is at the beginning. You start from day one, you build a file, you build a process, you collect what you need in the time you need it. It's really cool.
I always try to imagine it as if I'm directing a movie, I'm not going to take it to a distributor halfway done, right? I'm not going to take it to a distributor and say, oh, scene 36 isn't in the movie, but take a look at it. And it's the same thing with deliverables. We have to make their job the easiest we can. And if Cryo has every deliverable checkmarked in its place and some other film doesn't, guess which one they're going to want to sell?
Exactly. When we got to the deliverable stage of turning everything over and some of the stuff, like one of the things I had never heard the term, but they were like, oh, we need a credit statement from you. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. I couldn't find anything online. I ended up paying for the simplest piece of paper. It's basically like a line that said the name of the movie, the date we shot it, and then a notary stamp. I had to pay out of pocket. It cost me $100. And I was like, this is crazy that this stuff is so guarded and protected when it feels unfair to indie filmmakers. And fortunately, like, that is something that I was like, I can put this in the book. So for less than the cost of the book, you're getting that piece of paper plus 50 other templates for everything you need. But at this point, as long as I'm covering my bases of what I can and cannot legally do, it's like, I'm going to save you guys so much money on entertainment lawyers when, if you're like us, we could never afford one. And so I had to learn how to do it myself as a producer. And I think for the indie film market, this is an opportunity for them to, it's so easy now to make a movie, but it's still harder than ever to sell a movie. I was like, how can we level the playing field a little bit?
What I love about it, Mason, is that you chose a path that got you to profitability rather than the first deal, rather than a vanity play. Oh, this is a really big streamer or a really big sales agent, but it wouldn't have made your investors whole. It wouldn't have got you profitable. I'm curious, like you mentioned that you got profitable with the movie. What did that allow you to do after Cryo? Because you were profitable and you took the time and effort to figure all this stuff out and do it not necessarily the right way, but do right by your investors.
It did open some doors, especially with a lot of these distributors. A lot of them were like, what are you guys working on next? And so it did open a lot of those doors. I will say we probably dropped the ball a little bit on taking advantage of that opportunity. And I think it's mostly because a lot of us had different goals of what we wanted to do. I love writing, and I wanted to start making some of the movies I had been writing for years and years. It had his own slate of films that he wants to go and do. And I'm looking more commercially as what could do well for broader audiences. He has his niche that he really wants to build a world around. And I love that for him. And so I think we both were like, oh, we're going to go do our own thing. And instead of leveraging some of those connections we had built, this eventually COVID did shut us all down, and I got more into commercial producing. And so I was producing for a company out in Utah, commercial work and working on kind of bigger budget commercials. And so I feel like I personally dropped the ball for myself because that would have been my window to really execute making my film. Barrett did a better job of that and used those connections to leverage his next film. But that's hindsight. Like,
well, sounds like you guys had a major falling out. Is what it sounds like. You're trying to cover up.
No, Barrett and I are tight.
I got it in the trades back when
everyone's talking about it.
What really happened behind the scenes of Cryo?
No,
Mason. I only say that because I know you both and I love you both, and I'm just absolutely joking. But the cool thing is that film exists no matter what, and it'll exist for when you do need to, rely on like, hey, this is what we did and this happened. And whether it's riding the wave that year or the next cycle, wave comes in every 7 waves, right? And you just jump on the next one and do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is I moved to Hawaii. There's no film industry here. And so if I was playing just for my career, it would have been smart to stay in Utah or go to LA. But I also my family is my world, and not to get gushy like that, but I want to do what's best for my kid, for my wife. And so I sacrificed a little bit of my career to take a corporate video making job. And that's what I'm doing in Hawaii. I'm making videos that I am not passionate about in any way, but the quality of life I get to have with my family, the experiences I get quadrupled. So
that's awesome.
It was making memories with my family because life's just too short.
Yeah. You just need to get him to reboot Lost, and then you'll be set for seasons. So
I moved here and the industry was thriving. Actually, it was like Magnum PI, CSI Hawaii. They had all these shows in Hawaii. The entire industry, everything got canceled after a decade long of shows. And it's not until this year where video is starting to come back to Hawaii. So maybe I haven't been able to network with anyone, and it's been tough. And so I was like, man, all my connections are on the mainland. But I have a feature that I think I could do for not as low as Cryo's budget, but I want to shoot here. And I think it has a lot of big commercial appeal. And so that's my next one that I have other scripts, but they require bigger budgets. So I've decided, I was like, I think that's going to be my directorial debut that I'm going to try to kick off here soon.
Oh, I love it. And now you know where to start with your deliverables, so that won't be a hiccup on the way.
Yeah.
Where can people get your book?
My book officially actually comes out on July 1st. You can buy the hard copy or the paper copy on Amazon.
Nice.
As of July 1st. And then the digital copy is available for pre-order right now and will continuously be available as of July 1st when everything's published on deliverablesplaybook.com.
Okay.
Or the master site, which is just going to relink you to everything, filmmakersunited.co.
Okay. We'll figure out how to get those links up in the show notes.
Yeah.
But it seems like just an amazing tool. Is there any, if you have to give one tip aside from, hey, just get the book, to like a filmmaker that's like, okay, I'm getting ready to start. What is that from your perspective of like, okay, here's what to do or here's what not to do?
Okay, just go make it. For indie filmmakers, there a lot of the times things are not going to work out. You're not going to get the budget you want, but we carry cameras in our pockets now. The entry level for making films is so easy now that there's a lot of times we get this imposter syndrome that I'm not ready yet to do this, or it's not my turn. But just go make it. Even if you're just going to throw it up on YouTube, maybe it's not going to be your first profitable film. You have to be making content because you're not going to learn how to do any of this until you practically do it. And so my advice to any filmmaker is just start making films, short films, whatever, just start making films. And then over time, yeah, of course, the book will teach you how to package a film so it's ready to be sold, or your odds are better. My book's not going to guarantee a distribution sale because good paperwork isn't going to make your film good. A bad film's a bad film, a good film's a good film. A sellable film's a bad sellable film is still a sellable film. But the thing is, if you're not practicing the tools, if you're not practicing the craft, you're going to get left behind. And so whatever you can do on the weekends, just go out, find some friends, find your community, and go and make content, and something will come from it.
Amazing. That's great advice. I second that.
It's wisdom. That gets me excited. I gotta go. I shot a little something this morning and I've been working on it. We'll edit it, but still just something to produce and go shoot.
I've just started building a YouTube channel where now that the book's done, I can go back to throwing some of this information out on YouTube and teaching people some of the process, learn from my mistakes so you don't make them, kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, Mason, incredible, man. I'm so excited. It seems like an incredible resource.
Thank you.
July 1st, it's available. And it seems like it just goes hand in hand with demystifying independent film. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, thank you for having me and allowing me to promote my book.
Yeah, that's what we do. Okay, man, we're going to let you go and look forward to seeing more of your stuff.
Thanks,
you guys.
Mason.
Okay, buddy.
Take care.
This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org. Thanks for joining us. Please share and subscribe for future episodes. Today's episode was edited by Sam Hansen and produced by 3 Coin Productions.